So after watching Zack Snyder's Justice League, one of the main points that I left the film with was surrounding how Zack Snyder ended his trilogy with a particular message. The film focused on this throughout, and it was interesting to see how Snyder weaved a perfect superhero message throughout his 3 films. In this video essay, I'm going to be discussing what this is, alongside detailing why it is so important. This analysis will also contain spoilers, so if you do happen to be someone who hasn't seen the film or Snyder's trilogy, then I would recommend watching this video after you've seen it. If you want to see more on the Snyder Cut, including other video essays and content, then don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications. Also, if you enjoy this video, remember to give it a like rating. But without further ado, let's dive into the perfect message of Zack Snyder's Justice League. So over the last few days, we've had some information from Warner Media that suggests that the Snyderverse may not continue, and that the Snyder Cut of Justice League was a cul-de-sac for the filmmaker. Now, you already know my thoughts on this particular issue, and with Snyder having set out to end this story after 5 films, we may have been looking at a completely different story message that he planned. But regardless of there being a Snyder Cut sequel or not, the story that the director told, beginning with Man of Steel and evolving through to Justice League, is one that in my opinion has a perfect answer. Even though Zack Snyder's films work as a universe-building story, one thing that I hugely admire about the trilogy is that each film has its own messages that speaks to not just the world around us, but the characters that occupy the world of the story. Each film works on its own built story, and this is something that, say, the Dark Knight trilogy worked so well with. Yes, Snyder's trilogy is more connected to universe building than Nolan's, but on its own merits, each film has a strong individual story to tell, with certain messages and meanings. But the perfect message that I'm alluding to started with Man of Steel. In Man of Steel, we got a movie about fathers. Aside from all the lengthy action sequences that critics and some audience members gave mixed reactions to, there's a real story that sticks with how Superman was originally conceived. We learn about Superman's birth on Krypton to Jor-El, played by Russell Crowe, his adoptive Earth dad, Jonathan Kent, played by Kevin Costner, and how Superman must save the planet, all while figuring out whether to use the gifts he has to help people or not. Throughout the film, Superman has flashbacks to Smallville, Kansas, and in doing so, he finds his true self. Meanwhile, the audience gathers information to aid in understanding the depth of his character. We watch as Clark finds his fortress of solitude. It is there he finds his suit and learns the crest on the suit is a symbol of hope. In this same scene, Jor-El explains exactly how Clark has been given certain powers. It is only after this moment that Clark begins to push his own limits, eventually learning to fly. Without such guiding from Jor-El, it's debatable that Superman would ever learn to fly, literally and figuratively. In another flashback, Clark talks with his earthly father, Jonathan Kent. Jonathan, in explaining how he came to live with the Kents, says to Clark, "I have to believe you were sent here for a reason. Even if it takes the rest of your life, you owe it to yourself to find out why that is." In a great father-son moment, Jonathan says to Clark, "You have to decide what kind of man you want to be. Good character or bad, that man will change the world." Superman had a great biological father in Jor-El and a great adoptive father in Jonathan Kent. We watch as he struggles to live as a human and superhuman throughout the film, with this tension unfolding in the 2 fatherly relationships. With Jor-El, the idea of living and using superpowers is a given. In stark contrast, Jonathan struggles to keep his son's powers from the scrutiny of public for fear of misunderstanding or unneeded attention. Living in that tension between being human and superhuman is where Man of Steel wins. In the end, Man of Steel depicts a man whose biological father and adoptive father sacrificed themselves to save their son. It's a film that depicts sacrificial love and selflessness as the true nature of fatherhood, making it a movie worth watching for its integral meaning. Then, if we look at Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, we get a movie that centers around mothers. Now yes, the Martha dilemma is a famously mocked moment between Batman and Superman, but it's one that is vital to the story and also one that is ingrained in the audience's mindset right from the opening frame of the film. We learn throughout the movie that Batman is a tortured soul due to his parents' death, and his nightmares stem from it. The last word coming out of his father's mouth before he died in the opening scene was Martha. But to Batman and Superman, their characters stem from their mothers. As a rich and spoiled child, Bruce was close to his mother and she was everything to him. Now, I'm sure a lot of viewers didn't realise that both Batman and Superman's mothers had the same name, but like the movie shows us, saying Martha's name triggers Batman's trauma, and seeing Superman down on the ground struggling to say his mother's name, it reminds Bruce of his father saying the exact same words. While standing there ready to kill him, it places Bruce as the murderer, and he realises in this moment how far he'd taken things. Even in a general way, he realises how much of a fanatic he has become. It's a fight that draws down to the personal connections that these two titans have, and we get into the soul of what drives them. Dramatically and emotionally, the very first scene of the movie, in showing the death of Bruce Wayne's parents, connects to the eventual aftermath of the fight. Batman sees the humanity in Superman that we saw in Man of Steel through the eyes of his two fathers, and with both of them connecting through their mothers, it gives them a reason to join. They've both been broken so much in the film and throughout their history, falling to the level of Lex Luthor. But this moment is where it changes, and is almost the beginning of character redemption for Batman. Immediately, he goes and saves Superman's mother, giving him some sense of relief that he didn't feel after the death of his own mother. He can't save her, but he can regain his sense of character that stemmed from his parents. But this message is then carried through to Zack Snyder's Justice League. The Snyder Cut evolves into a message about individuality through togetherness. The loss that every character faces helps them to eventually connect and also become their own heroes in the world. Again, we see messages here surrounding the problems of fatherhood and parentship, but we go beyond that in Justice League to see their full redemption arcs too. Zack Snyder could have just built a story of coming together and shown the joys of this team in action. That is what Joss Whedon tried to focus on more prominently with his cut, but he lost the essence of each of their characters, settling for a joyful tone that had no big sense of threat or a conversation on the characters' limitations. What the Snyder Cut does is focus on showing the limitations and struggles of every character in the Justice League, connects this to their origin or parents, and shows how they can begin to get past these issues. It's much more interesting to watch the story unfold this way, and it stays in line with how the previous two movies were about the breakdown of superheroes in society through the struggles of personal growth. In its very essence, the Snyder Cut allows the breathing room for this perfect message to be put in the spotlight through each of the characters. Starting with Batman, we know from the previous movie that he is on an arc of redemption, not just of his own character and living up to the Wayne name, but also Superman. He wants to do the right thing after Clark's death, bringing together this group of broken heroes, like he was in the previous movie, and stopping a threat which is bigger than your average crime. We see that he is still struggling to get over his sins once the nightmare sequence pops up, but we know that throughout the movie, Batman now operates on faith. He says this to Alfred before setting off with the Justice League to stop Steppenwolf, and it's a perfect full circle for his character after what he tried to do in the previous movie. He's trying to make his mother and father proud, becoming his own hero through uniting the team and saving the world from annihilation. Then when we look at Cyborg, we get another continuation of the message of growing individuality. We are treated to the entire origin of Victor Stone, in which he was a star college quarterback who was killed in a car accident along with his mother on the way back from a game. Brought back to life with the mother box by his estranged father, Vic feels isolated and alone as a modern-day version of Frankenstein's monster. Cyborg's connection with his father helps to further facilitate Cyborg as the centre of the film. Much of his arc is about coming to terms with who he is as the man of two worlds, and forgiving his father for not being there for him, reflecting part of Aquaman and Superman's arcs too in a different way. Vic is of Earth and of Apocalypse, the latter of which makes him the key to defeating Steppenwolf, if he can find a way to accept himself before it's too late. It's one of the most essential additions to the overall Justice League story, and its omission feels especially glaring when you compare the two cuts of the film. Moving on to Clark Kent, we get some more quiet moments of reflection alongside Lois Lane and Martha as he slowly comes back to life after being revived by the group. The moment in which Clark selects his black suit also features a dual voiceover conversation between Jor-El and Jonathan Kent from Man of Steel, as they remind Superman of his importance to not only Earth but the galaxy as well. It serves as a touchstone to the previous films and their messages, which started the entire DCEU, and begins to move the character forward. As a character, he has gone from learning who he has to be in the world, to confronting the world's view of him, and now after revival, he is in the process of becoming that true hero for everyone. With Wonder Woman, we also watch how Diana learns about the Mother Box's function after seeing the fire in the Amazon temple. During these moments, we learn that she can't go back to Themyscira, and we see her struggles within that. We see her learning about the Mother Boxes before she details it all to Bruce, and at the end of the film, she looks out towards her island. This mainly suggests that she wants to connect with her people once again and form that broken bond, showing the importance of the message in each of the characters' individuality, which helps to push forward togetherness. With Aquaman, we have something similar. He's an alcoholic who, at the time of this film, hasn't risen to his mother's trident, and it's only until the events of this film, where Steppenwolf infiltrates and takes the guarded mother box, that he tries to gain some dignity back. And then finally, with the Flash, we see his very clear problems with becoming his own person. He has these incredible powers, and his father, who is in jail, wants him to move on and succeed by putting his foot through the door. After Barry forms with the team and essentially saves the world with one move through time, he does finally move on. Not just amongst these other titans, but also individually. He tells his dad the great news of getting a job, and this is a moving on point for the character who struggles to find what he wanted to be and how he wanted to use his powers. So with all of these character arcs, we get a clear evolution of the message that Zack Snyder laid out. The perfect message of the trilogy is that these characters have evolved into their own heroes and have learnt to deal with their familial struggles. Of course, it would be interesting to see where Snyder would evolve this message with 2 more Justice League films, and the leaked storyboards for Justice League 2 and 3 definitely suggest some important moments. However, at least we were able to see a basic completion of the message that Snyder set in motion with Man of Steel. Snyder can clearly relate to it in the wake of his own familial tragedy, and you see the power of it in his trilogy. Alongside this, the whole trilogy of Snyder DCEU films is about parents, family, and how this evolves. Man of Steel is a movie about the connection to fathers. Batman v Superman is a movie about the connection to mothers. And Zack Snyder's Justice League is a movie about these individuals who come together through accepting themselves. They all have dealt with loss, which mainly connects to each of their parents, and the forming of the Justice League has helped them begin to recover. They may not have fully recovered, but their faith in being better and their healing process has begun. But that was my video discussing the important message of the Justice League Snyder Cut. I really hope that down the line we do get to see the future potential of the Snyderverse realised, especially with a continuation of the messages that Snyder pushed in his 3 films. It does look unlikely, but I guess many people said the same thing about the Snyder Cut, and look how that turned out. Hopefully it will continue to be a success, and Warner Media could see the value in continuing all of these different universes for DC. But what do you think of my analysis for Zack Snyder's Trilogy message, and how would you like to see this be evolved in a future movie, if of course we do get one? Let me know down below in the comment section. For more videos analysing the Justice League Snyder Cut, then don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications. Also, if you enjoyed this video, remember to leave a like rating. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I've been Cortex, and as always, make some noise.